It's days before the inauguration of the next Michigan governor, and we're here in the home of current Governor Jennifer Granholm and her husband Dan Mulhern. Welcome.
Well, welcome to you as well. It's great to have you in this house.
Well, it's great to be here. Let's talk about when you became governor 8 years ago. You had a lot of hopes and dreams for what you wanted to see for Michigan residents. A lot of time's gone by.
Yeah, a lot of time has gone by, and there's certainly been a lot of events that have hit Michigan in that time. But I do know, and Dan and I talk about this all the time, that when I was first elected, we were in the middle of, we were just coming out of, as a state, a recession. And I don't know if you remember this, but George Bush was president, and there was the issue of all of these states going to Washington, asking for some dollars to be able to ensure that the states wouldn't do massive cuts. And that all happened right when I became governor. In fact, there were 200,000 jobs we had shed between the year 2000 and 2003. So we had what is known as the Revenue Estimating Conference, which of course is the conference that we have at the very beginning of every year, and it's where the economists come to Lansing and advise us on what the economy is going to look like so we can make some projections about what the budget's going to look like. And the economists who came all projected that we were in the middle of a cycle, a structural cycle, a cycle that we were coming out of, and that the first quarter of 2003 would be really crummy. But every quarter after that, they predicted we would see job growth. And of course, we look in history to see what has happened, but we were in the middle of the beginning of a structural change to Michigan's economy. And so when we took office, when we were having this conversation 8 years ago, it was a totally different set of expectations, and would that we had a crystal ball.
What might you have thought you could have accomplished in 8 years?
Well, Colleen, I'm really proud of what we have done. Say that obviously we've been through this enormously difficult period of time as a state. And just for your viewers, so that people understand how we have viewed it and how the economists have viewed it, is that Michigan, because we've had 7 times more automotive manufacturing, that we've been hit 7 times harder than other states as a result of this global shift, really, in manufacturing jobs to low-wage countries. And so, for us, this period of time has been really about building a new foundation for Michigan's economy, replacing those lost manufacturing jobs with jobs in emerging sectors, with sectors that we can be competitive in. And in fact, we did a very aggressive review of Michigan's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, brought in experts, evaluated where we could be competitive, and we identified 6 sectors. And the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, since 2003, we just finally added up all of the projects and all of the jobs that have been created since then. Over 4,000 projects, 4,000 businesses that they have assisted in coming to Michigan or expanding in Michigan, that have resulted in over 650,000 jobs in these emerging sectors, which is great. Now the problem is, of course, we've been trying to fill those lost jobs, but the jobs that we've had, the traditional manufacturing jobs, of course, have been leaving in great numbers as well. So the great news is that we have we hit bottom a few months ago. We are on the way up. The economic indicators now for Michigan look very strong. We've outperformed the national economy 3-to-1 in terms of the drops in our unemployment rate. We still obviously have a long way to go, but we're going to emerge from this recession a stronger state with a more diverse economy, a more well-educated state, and I'm very proud of the work that we've done to do that.
In light of that, are you sad that you can't be around to kind of reap the benefits?
Well, I'll be
of
around.
The seeds that
we'll
you've
be around.
But not as the governor.
It's a lot of people have asked that, and I often cite, there's a great Chinese proverb that says that sometimes leadership is planting trees under whose shade you will never sit. It's really not about credit. What it's about is making sure that you've done the right foundational things for Michigan to move forward, and in that regard, I think our administration has done a terrific job.
What are some of the key issues you think moving forward that the next governor will have to just generally will have to deal
Well,
with?
you know, if I had to advise the next governor, let me just say we've had a really great relationship, and the transition has been very smooth, and I feel very bullish on Michigan's future. I think that Governor Snyder will be a good governor, and I think his intentions and his focus on diversifying the economy is going to continue what we have started, and so that's very important. And I would say that whoever, you know, whether it's Governor Snyder or whoever follows him, because this is going to be an ongoing job that will last, you know, well into the future, that they have to continue to this effort at diversifying Michigan's economy and educating our citizens. You obviously have had a great role in education yourself, and it is so important for Michigan that we become an education state, that every parent is telling every child that they must go to college and beyond high school or get a technical or vocational certification, and that the adults who never went to college and who find now themselves you know, without a job, because we still have a lot of those adults, that they take advantage of the opportunities to go back to a community college or to a university and get the skills necessary for them to compete.
Let's talk a minute, Dan, about you. 8 years ago, you had a thriving business prior to coming here, a career that you'd set out. You are a leader in leadership training, and all of a sudden you're the first gentleman, and there are a number of issues that you can't pursue your career with as much gusto as you had. There are conflicts because you are the governor's spouse. So you've kind of pulled together, kind of cobbled together a continuing career for the last 8 years. Can you talk a little bit about that?
My main job was really to support my wife and 3 great kids who, the first time you and I talked when Jennifer was about to be Attorney General, those kids were 1 and 7 and 8 years old. And even when we moved into this house, we had one going in 1st grade, one going in 7th, and one going in 9th. So not only was my wife in transition and was I in transition, but we had 3 kids in major transition too. And so the big thing has been to do that, and that's been an extraordinary blessing. I mean, I think a lot of women leading as Jennifer has have demonstrated that they have extraordinary skills, and we're a much better state and country to have 100% of the people can participate in leadership, not just us guys. And you know, the counterpart is that men are learning, lots of them, to play the kind of role I did. Lots of men who are in manufacturing, who are in transportation, in construction, all industries that have been hurt, have often had wives who are teachers, social workers, nurses, or moving up in the professional ranks. And I made the transition along with them, and it's been a great ride.
The kids are really lucky that he's really just been such a phenomenal, you know, hands-on dad, and they are totally close to him. It's really been a very special thing. It's really, you know, I feel very lucky.
But in the midst of this, you've written at least 2 books that I know of.
Yeah, it's been.
And you've got a radio program,
yeah,
and you've done some.
Yeah, I haven't just stayed at home. I mean, it's been a crazy time. I've run 3 marathons and hopefully inspired some people to get fit, which we need to do in Michigan. And I've written 2 books on leadership, and I write about leadership every week, and I have a radio show about leadership. And the most wonderful thing about both of those is really creating a community around leadership of people asking, whether you're the governor of a state of Michigan with incredible complexity, or maybe you have an aging parent and you're trying to lead that person, or you have children with challenges, or principals in schools, or you need school reform, or you're at a newspaper that's falling apart in this internet age. How do you lead? And so I've just learned so much, mostly from people in Michigan who read my emails and write back, and it's been great. And really, I've seen leadership from both sides now, I guess, as Judy Collins would say, from watching my wife in this extraordinary challenge, and then playing leadership in the small but most important place any of us will ever lead, and that's home.
Dan, I read in an interview you did a couple of weeks ago, maybe, and it really made me think. You talked about you and the governor in a car and escaping from security. And for one brief little period of time, you were free to just be normal. And I thought about that. That's what you're heading into. January 1st, you'll be normal. I mean, you'll be able to get in the car, put on sweatpants, and go to the Mulhern. And well, obviously, I get a sense of what it's going to feel like. Tell me what that's going to feel like.
Well, Jennifer has incredible patience, and she's really been the one who's had security on her literally 24/7. There's cameras in this house. There's people here all the time, and for me, I've been able to get a little bit free of that, and I'm looking forward to more freedom. I totally understand it. We appreciate state police who protected us and protected our children.
They are so great.
And they're incredibly professional people. But it would be nice to have them over for dinner and
Dan had a
show
few
them the
lapses
door.
over the course
few
of 8
lapses
years.
of
I'll just say
judgment.
that. Playing detail ditch him is not a good idea.